named me the dancer when he came to see us at the Copacabana in New York. And he told Sammy, he said, well, you name her Gigi, but I'm going to name her the dancer. So I have two great people that have, given me names, and that's dear to me, and I treasure it, to the utmost. Again, it's nice to be back here. It's good to see Rashid. I hadn't seen him this year. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the table. There's a lot that has been going on. There's a lot that's still going on. We know that this is February. It's the month of Black History. So there's a lot of things that's going to be going on, a lot of celebrations and things that's going to be going on. Old movies are going to be on TV, and there's a lot of things that's going on. But not only is it Black History Month, it's also the month where they call it Valentine's Day. Valentine's month, February the 14th, I believe. And that's where the young men, that have their eyes on certain ladies, they, give them a card and ask them will they be their Valentine, or are they giving them flowers? The husbands are giving chocolates and flowers and, all those kind of romantic things during the month of February. Some of them take the whole month, and then some of them just do that one day. But whichever, it's a celebrating month. But not only is it a celebrating month, it's just a month that we look for in our history to be able to celebrate different things and to be able to have different cultures that we can enjoy in the month of February, by it being Black History. And we talk about the history. We talk about a lot of things. And some of our kids or young kids are being aware of a lot of things during this month that sometimes they may not be aware of any other time. So again, it's Black History Month. But we're going to get past that because there's a lot of other things that just in life general that we deal with, like I said, we've lost loved ones. We know friends that we have lost, and we've lost a lot of people in the industry last month. Not only Sidney Poitier and all the others, but we also have lost two young people to committing suicide. The young lady, I think she's the U.S. or whatever, she's a beauty pageant. She took her life. Also, Regina King's son taking his life. Those are things that are very sad, and I don't know. I'm not in the minds of one that travel that road of taking their lives. But, it's a circumstance. It's our life. Sometimes we have to look at how do we change our circumstances? How do we deal with certain issues such as depression or disappointments and just life struggles as a whole. We deal with a lot of things. And we as parents deal with the struggles of what our children go through, being bullied, and just sometimes not even with the children, just with our own life. We have some struggles that we have to deal with, or we try to deal with. And we look at it and sometimes say, how do I move myself? How do I get out of my own way to be able to get in a position or get in a frame of mind or a stable condition of stable mind, I should say, where all is well. So, we deal with a lot, and with the virus that's going on, with the way the world is now and what we're dealing with, and it really don't look like it's getting solved too soon. So we're dealing with a new norm. Is it going to be a new norm? What's happening here? And this is what's coming to the table tonight. And call in. If you have some questions, call in. If you want to just get into the conversation, if you want to discuss it, if you have some thoughts, call in. And I'm going to give you the request line once again. And that's 310-910-9676, extension 1. And I look at it even with myself, there's some struggles that I go through. There's some things that I go through um, in life. You know, all is not peaches and cream, but it's good when you can wake up in the morning and still have your health and strength and go through the day. But we still, even with that, we still have some struggles that we deal with. We still have some life challenges that we deal with. And how do we deal with the struggles? Or how do we get past some struggles? And especially if you're a single woman, you have some struggles because you're dealing with things by yourself. You don't have that significant other or that husband to help deal with some things. And then it doesn't even matter whether you're single. Two people together, husband and wife, can have some struggles, and I'm quite sure they do have some struggles in some areas. And how do you deal with it? How do one get past the struggles? And when they're facing or come to face a disappointment, what happens? And a couple of things that came across my mind when talking about or trying to understand the struggles. This is something that came to me. In the struggles, sometimes we must understand how that sometimes we come into a struggle. We limit ourselves sometimes by our attitudes and struggles, and allowing ourselves to develop certain attitudes. And we got to look at that. We got to look at the attitude that we have, the attitude that we possess at that time, and is it the reason that we're going through the struggle? Is it because of my attitude? How do we overcome, or how do I overcome that? And when doing that, I think we have to sometimes recognize our own personal struggles. And how do we get to that? How do we get to recognizing our own personal struggles? I think we have to name, if it's grief, it's a struggle. If it's an unbelief, or if it's a trust, if it's a depression, if it's relationships, we have to first identify it, I think. And by identifying that particular situation allows us to say, okay, this is the struggle I'm in. I'm in the struggle of this relationship. What do I do? How do I work this relationship out? Whether it's a relationship with my son, with my daughter, or just with our children. That's a struggle sometimes, because we need to know, how do we work this out? How do I work this out? Is it the relationship of me and my significant other? Or is it the relationship between myself and my husband? Because we're actually not just being a significant other, we are actually husband and wife, sister and brother. How do we deal with that? Where do I go? How do I sit down and work this struggle that I'm having? And sometimes the struggle is just with yourself and not with someone else. It's just with yourself. So we have to sit down, or I say I have to sit down, or we have to sit down and let me figure out, how do I get past this struggle that I'm dealing with? Because right now I could be dealing with struggle of grief. How do I get past it? How do I get through it? It's not easy when you've lost your mother or your father. It's not so easy right then, but you have to sit down and see how I can get through this. And I think when you sit down, and I will say for myself, when I lost my parents, because I lost both my parents 2 weeks apart unexpectedly, how did I get through that struggle? Because it was a struggle for me. It was a real bad struggle, because, first my father passed, and then 2 weeks later my mother passed. So that was a struggle. I hadn't even gotten out the first struggle. Now I got another one. So I had to put both of those struggles together. What did I do? I had to sit in my own space and look back over the things that were happening. How did how was my relationship with my parents? I reminisced on my love for my parents. I reminisced on things that I did and they chastised me on. So this is how I dealt with my grief, reminiscing on things, the good, the bad, the indifference, but the overall, the love. So this is how I dealt with it. So we have to look at how and recognize whatever struggle we're in, how we're going to deal with it. How are we going to get past it? How do I move myself out of the way and focus, on this particular situation that I'm dealing with? And even the struggle with friendship, when you lose a friend that you've been friends with for so long, how did that happen? How did the friendship become so sour? How did the friendship break up like that? And I'm not speaking about a love friendship. I'm just speaking about a friendship between two guys. They've been best friends, or two girls. They've been best friends for so many years, and now something came in the way that had made that a broken friendship. So you have to sit back. Wow, was I at fault? Was she at fault? Or was he at fault? How was it? So let's pick it apart when we're talking about relationships of being a struggle in some areas. Even with coming along with the depression, how do one get through that? And I can't say I'm quite sure. Maybe we all go through that period of being depressed or depression, because it comes in all forms. We could just decide that, I'm not going to do nothing today. And for when you look up, it's a whole week that you've been laying on the couch. That could be some kind of form of depression or something, because now you wind up being on the couch for a whole week and not wanting to do anything. So again, we have to identify that struggle. And once we identify it, I think it's easy to be able to come out of it, come out of that particular struggle, that particular instance of that situation that one's going through, but it's life. It's life. And right now, life is in a turmoil because of so much things that's going on. And sometimes we hear where people just can't deal with it. And they just said, enough is enough. I'm done. I'm out of here. And they wind up taking their own lives. And I don't want to say, or I can't say that, because you have some, let me say this. We have people that even know the Lord. They know the Lord. They're Christians. They know the Lord. And still get into that, if I could say this, defunk of a mood, and can't get out of it, and feel the only way out is to say bye-bye and take their life. So it's not where, you can say, well, maybe they didn't know the Lord. Yeah, some of them do know the Lord. And they still go through that. They still wind up taking their lives. I'm going to ask this question. Have you ever felt like you were in a holding pattern? Yeah, I said holding pattern. Have you ever felt like you were in a holding pattern? And what I mean by that is, you don't know if you go to the right, if you move to the right, if you move to the left, things are still the same. Even when you sit and put it all on the altar, things are still the same. You can't seem to get out of that rut or that defunk of a mood or that struggle, that disappointment. Have you ever felt that you were in holding pattern? Had you ever thought about it being as a holding pattern? You know, you could just say, well, you know, I'm in this mood, but maybe it's a holding pattern. And I say that because when you feel as though you've prayed, you've done all the things that you know to do, but you're still in that situation, you're still in that pattern, and you're still where things is like when God has not really delivered you from that situation, that difficult situation that you've been praying about, and you're still trying to move to the right, you're trying to move to the left, and you put it all on the altar, but you seem like things are not happening. You're still in that box. You're still in that pattern, that holding pattern, as I would call it, where, like I said, you feel like that that broken relationship has not been restored back yet, that you've been praying about, that you've been trying to get back to the norm. It's just like, wow, I can't get out of this. I can't. I'm still sitting here. I've got it all on the altar, but it's still there. I can't. Where am I? How am I getting out of this? You know, because sometimes holding patterns, are holding patterns that has a purpose. When you look at it, it has a purpose. Yeah. A holding pattern has a purpose. It also has a plan. How do you get around the plan? How do you get around the purpose? But the holding pattern also has a process. So it's just not being in the pattern by itself, in the holding pattern by itself. You have this. It has its purpose. It has its plan. And it has its process. You know, it's going through. It's going through. And we go through. We go through things. But had you ever looked at it being in a holding pattern? Probably not. Probably not. And it's okay. Because I didn't look at it being in a holding pattern. But when I saw where I couldn't jump out the box so soon, I'm still in the box. I'm in this pattern. I'm in this holding pattern. How do I get out of it? When do I get out of it? What help do I get to get out of it? All these things, you know. But what I find when I'm in a holding pattern, what I have to do, I have to sit still. I have to meditate. You know, and as I'm meditating, I'm praying for the purpose, you know, because I want to be able to see the purpose. I want to be able to understand the purpose. Even with that, I'm praying for the plan. What's the plan? You know, there's the purpose. Okay, but now what's the plan? What's the plan? Callers, if you're out there listening, call me. Let's talk about it. Again, the request line is 310-910-9676, extension 1. Who's in a holding pattern out there? Just think about things. Tell me if you're in a holding pattern. If you feel you're in a holding pattern, when you sit down and really look at everything, are you in a holding pattern? Have you ever been in a holding pattern? And if you were, how did you come out of it? What did you do? When did you realize that you was out of that pattern? Talk to me. Think about it. Call me next week. If it's something, so you know what, I gotta think about this one. I gotta look at this. And let me jot some things down. Let me look at some areas and see if I was ever in a holding pattern over here in this area. And let me look and see if I was in that area of a holding pattern. Am I out of it? Check it out for yourself. You know, it could be in, like I said, a relationship. Are you in a holding pattern in your relationship? Is that holding pattern the relationship with your children? With your significant other? With your wife, your husband, your friends? Look at it and see. Are you in a holding pattern with the fellowship of your church, with your Christian sisters and brothers? You have to look at the whole picture and see. And say, okay, how do I change this circumstances? How do I get out of this holding pattern? And then not only that, how did I get in the holding pattern? How did I get into the holding pattern? Sometimes we don't even know how we got there. And then again, sometimes we don't even understand that we're there in such of a situation as being in a holding pattern. We don't. But life, dealing with certain situations, and especially with all what's going on, this whole world is probably in a holding. This whole world is in a holding pattern. Because we're there, some are doing what we're supposed to do, others are not. So we're all in a holding pattern. And some part of this, I don't want to say new norm, but in some of this, the virus and things that are going on, and, you know, the president trying to do what he's trying to do, and Whoopi Goldberg saying some things, and being on a 2-week suspension from The View. So, I mean, you know, hey, you have to, you know, it's a holding pattern. It's a holding pattern. But again, we can come out of it. If you choose to come out of it, there's things we can, you know what we have to do. We have to look to the hills of whence cometh our help. And that's where our help comes from. Our help comes from the Lord. And he's the one that can bring us out of this holding pattern. And while we're in the holding pattern, we can focus and meditate and think more of his goodness, you know. But it's interesting to be able to sit and meditate on things that you never thought about meditating on. It's interesting. And we all travel down that path, or that road, or that journey from one time or another. And as we do, it's okay. It's okay. Because as they say, it is what it is from time to time, you know. But I want to take a minute and send out a thank you to someone that sent in a donation. And I want to say hello and thank you to Alicia Heyman from Los Angeles, California. Thank you for your donation. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. Thank you so very much. Also want to send a big thank you to my sister in Christ, my friend, Alice Turner. of Los Angeles, thank you so much for your love and your support. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to continue to ask those out there to support Jaylin, All American Amputee Foundation. Support the foundation. Because with so much going on, and there are still so many that don't have insurance, and those that do, the insurance doesn't pay a lot, it doesn't pay everything. Medi-Cal doesn't pay everything for one to get a prosthetic. But not only the prosthetic, but there's other things that's needed as being an amputee for you to be able to wear your prosthetic. There's certain socks that we call them. Next week I'll bring some to just give an example what they look like. Things that have to be worn, put on before you put your prosthetic on. And believe me, everything costs. Everything costs. So I would appreciate it, love it, if you would just, support Jaylin, All American Amputee Foundation, so that I can help those out there get the things that they need when they call. I've been fortunate, I've been blessed to be able to help some, quite a few. And that's only by your donations, and I thank you for it. And those that have not been able to send a monetary donation, I thank you for your support. Because even just the words of encouragement and the support, that goes a long ways, and I thank you for that. But if you want to send in a donation, go to Jaylin, All American Amputee Foundation. Go to the website, and that's JLYNAAA Foundation.org. Again, that's JLYNAAA Foundation.org. And push that donation button. Because as I say all the time, your arms can be their arms. Your legs can be their legs. And what I mean by that is that with your arms reaching out, they're able to get some prosthetic arms. And as you walk and give, they'll be able to walk with a prosthetic. So let your arms and let your legs be a giver to someone that be able to jump and do some things that they were not able to do. And if you just want to say, hey, Miss Gigi, I love to sponsor, I'll sponsor one person, one individual person. That's also accepted. To be able to sponsor one person, that's fine. However you want to sponsor someone or to help sponsor, it's appreciated. Okay? Also, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Lane Scott. The song that you hear before coming on, it's called Her Mystical Journey. And Her Mystical Journey was written for this podcast and for me. And I appreciate Mr. Scott tremendously. And I just want to say thank you for your talent. Thank you for your musical ability and your genius. Thank you so much. And for those that want some music for yourself, I'm going to say go to his website and check him out. And I'm going to spell it for you because he spells it just a little bit different. It's Less Word Music, and that's LESWORMUSIK Productions.com. Again, that's LESWORMUSIK Production.com. Check Lehman Scott out. Just give him a shout, talk to him, and whatever type of music you want, he's able to handle it for you. So give him a shout out. Also, I want to take this time to give another shout out to a young man that's doing great work on those cars. And that's Mr. Glenn Gamble. For your auto needs, your detailing needs, go to Exclusive Auto Touch. I'm going to give you the number. That's at The number is 626-328-0435. That's Exclusive Auto Touch. Check him out. And you can check the website out, excuse me, as well. And the website is eatdetailing.com. Eat Detailing. It's like when you're eating something, you're going to just eatdetailing.com. Check him out if you want that car in tip-top shape. You want it looking good, give him a call. He's on top of it. He knows what he's done. And matter of fact, he's certified. Most detailers are not, but he's certified. And also, if you want that window tint, he's doing that now too. So check him out, okay? And I'm going to kind of mention this too. I've had quite a few people to call me and ask me, could they advertise their business? And in the very beginning, I said, well, I really wasn't doing that. But this year, 2022, as long as I have a podcast, I will be, you will be able to advertise here on the podcast. So if you want to advertise on the podcast, why don't you go to Bring Gigi to the Table at gmail.com and let me know, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you. You can let me know. Again, I'm open for it, because so many people have called and asked me, and if in the very beginning I wasn't doing it, but year 2022, yes, I'm going to. All right. So those are a couple of things that's going on, and also soon you will be able to have an exercise class with me. I will be doing that shortly this year too. So stay tuned. I'll give you more information on that and how you can join me in a dance class, in a dance exercise class. So there's a lot of things that's going to be happening with Jay Lynn All-American Amputee Foundation. And the reason for that is because we as amputees still have to keep our bodies together. We still have to work that, whether we're BK below the knee or AK above the knee, we still have to work that leg, that prosthetic side out. So yes, and you don't have to be an amputee to join the class, to be able to have a little exercise going on with your bodies and trying to get it in shape. And not only the exercise classes, but it's going to be some dance classes as well. We're going to learn how to do some of the latest dances. And I've had some people call and ask me, well, you know what, I want to learn how to cha-cha. I want to learn how to waltz. I want to learn. You'll be able to do it all. You'll be able to learn it all. So you'll get more information on that, and it's going to be fun. And I'm looking forward to it. Now, let's kind of get back. Again, let me give you this email address if you want to email me. Not only if you want to email me about wanting to advertise, but if you want to email me about a particular topic that you want to bring to the table, you can also do that. That you want to discuss, that you want to see here on the table, you can do that. Again, email me at bringgg2, that's the number 2, the table, at gmail.com. Again, that's bringgg, G-I-G-I, the number 2, the table, at gmail.com. Okay, so give me a call, give me a shout, and if you want to talk to me, if you have some couple of things you want to talk to me about personally, call me at 323-990-2119. Again, that's 323-990-2119. I look forward to hearing from you. Looking forward to talking to you, okay? And if you want to call in tonight, you can. You can call area code 310-910-9676, extension 1, and bring some things to the table. Let's talk about it. I know I've been off for I've been off a whole month. How Rashid? It's a whole month. It's a long time. But I'm back, and I don't think I'm going to take no month off again. That's a little bit too long, because I miss being here. I miss seeing Rashid. So I won't do that whole month again. But anyway, let's get back to this. And as I was saying, we go through life struggles, and we just have to figure out how to get past that, and how to deal with it. And I think an important thing when we're dealing with life struggles, for me, have to know who I am and whose I am. And I say that because I have to go to the Lord. I have to talk to him about it. I have to talk to him, because this is the only way, I think, for me, is that I'm going to come out of that holding pattern. That I'm going to recognize and understand the purpose, the plan, the process, and all those things. Because, and in doing that, I have to open up that, as they call it, the Bible, but Bishop calls it the basic instructions before leaving here. So I have to pick it up. And, there's a couple of things I think that helps also when we are trying to come out of the struggle of things. This is something that I jot down for me, and I don't know if it'll work for anybody else, but this is a couple of things that I felt for me when I'm in the struggle, because life is, and we're going to go through some struggles. So for me, I try to know my struggles. I try to embrace my struggle in order to overcome the struggle. And I feel sometimes when, and maybe it's something that we all can do, embrace the struggle, so you know how to overcome the struggle. Know that the struggle is here. Okay, I've got this struggle here, so let me embrace it. So now I know how to work through it. So I know how to come out of it. And then for me, I have to be eager to change and have a closer walk with the continuousness of the struggle, because of coming out and going into the newness, if that makes sense. That's what I have to do, and doing that, I have to not cling to my old ways, and by doing that, as I'm stepping into the new me of coming out of that struggle, those are a couple of things that I have to work on, that I have to do. Now, I'm not saying that it'll work for everybody, because everyone has to figure out how and what works best for them to come out of the struggle, out of whatever struggle that they're going to. And even so, and I jotted this down too, I have to give fully to the adventure of increasing and presenting my focus through being transformed by the renewing of my mind. So I have to renew my mind in coming out of the struggle. It is, because if I stay in with the old mind, it keeps me in the old struggle. It keeps me in the struggle. So for me to come out the struggle, I have to renew my mind. And it took me a minute. And like I said, I'm going to put myself on the table, because this is where you bring it. You bring it to the table. So I'm going to put me on the table. So this is what I have to do to come out of it. I have to renew my mind and say, okay, now that I don't want to continue in. I can't continue in that. Don't want to continue in that. So let me focus. Let me come out of that. And in order for me to come out of it, out of the struggle, I had to pick up my word, my sword, my basic instructions, and go to Philippians 2:5 for me, as well as I had to go to Proverbs 4:23, Romans 8:28, 12:1 and 2, and Ephesians 4:23 to 25. These are some scriptures that I had to go through in order to help me, and for me to be able to understand. And like I said, this is what worked for me. I don't know what's going to work for somebody else. You have to figure it out, find out how, and the best way for you to come out of the struggle. And even with my relationships, And as I say, this is the month that, you find love in the air. You find love in the air this month. This is February. Now, does love stay in the air when it comes to March? I can't answer that, but you can answer that. But again, yeah, to come out of these things and to try not to go into another dimension of a pattern and being, if I could say, depression or disappointment, because we're gonna go through disappointments in life. I'd rather go through some disappointments than to go through some depression, because the disappointment, you can say, okay, I was disappointed in that, but I can get over it. It's a little easy for me. It's a little easier for me to get out of the disappointment than I think the struggle of being in a depression or being depressed. So everyone has to find their way, and it's just, what can I tell you? It's just life that we go through. I've been through some things, some not so pretty, but I felt I had to go through it to get where I am today. Because sometimes if you don't go through nothing, you don't know who to depend on, who to call on, or how to call on Jesus to get you out of it. So, go through something. It's a life. I think at times it's a learning moment of how to come out on the other side and how to unmask yourself to be able to come out of that particular situation or that particular struggle for whatever it is that you're going through. And I just pray that things can get better, so that we won't have to go through hearing our young adults, young children that has so much to offer take their lives. So again, let's look at situations and look at the pattern, look at the holding pattern, if I could say. And where the world is in a holding pattern, okay? The world is in a holding pattern. But as individuals, let's look at our holding pattern and let's work our way out of the holding pattern. And whatever it is, you may not think it's a holding pattern, but when you really look at it and focus on it, it's a holding pattern. And so let's understand the purpose. Let's understand the plan. And let's understand the process. Because I think once the purpose, the plan, and the process is understood, by meditating and having your mind renewed, you'll come out of it. Come out of it. And then you can say, you know what? This too shall pass. As well as everything works together for the good of those that love the Lord. It's simple. That's what it is. That's what it is. And for me, I look and I kind of say, okay, when I look back, as I said, that's when I look back over my life, when I look back, I was in a holding pattern in some situations. And I didn't understand it But as time went on by and by, I was able to understand it. And not only was I able to understand the purpose, I was able to understand the plan, and I was able to understand the process. And all of that came to bring me where I am today as being an amputee, to be able to walk this through, to be able to help someone else. And not only that, I was able to see and understand why the plan was what it called for, and the purpose and the process. I was able to understand it. And after I was able to understand it, and in order for me to, I had to renew my mind, I had to meditate, and I had to sit and be still and unmask myself and say, okay. And you know what? It's all worked out. It's all worked out. It's all worked out. And I'm good with it. So I just say, check your holding pattern. Get with it. Work it out. Renew your mind. Unmask yourself. And say, all things work together for the good for those that love the Lord. And hey, love Him. You'll be okay. But it's understanding. And like I said, that holding pattern that you may be in, may be with your children, maybe with your spouse, maybe with a friend, maybe with your Christian sisters and brothers. It may even be with your pastor. It may even be with the first lady of the church. But look at it. Look at it. Because the holding pattern starts with self. So look at it. This is 2022. And I'm going to change that holding pattern. I'm going to come out of that holding pattern. I'm going to understand and recognize, yeah, okay, I didn't know that, but that is a holding pattern. So let me move it. Let me shift. Let me shift. This is 2022. Let me shift. And as I shift, and as I meditate, as I pray, I'm going to pray on each one and wait for the answer. And when I look up, pop, as they say, go to weasel, I'm out of the holding pattern. I'm out. And once I come out, or once you come out, now you can say, okay, I don't want to get back in that holding pattern, so I know I know what not to do to put myself back in that holding pattern or to get into that holding pattern. Be honest with myself, because it all starts with self. To keep me out of the holding pattern. I've got to be honest with me. And once I'm honest with me, then there are certain things that I know I won't allow myself to get back into the holding pattern with. But it's only when you're not honest with yourself and you're not honest with others. You allow yourself to do something, and when you look up, you're in that holding pattern. So, as we say, this too, we can move it. We can move it. So I look at it, I think it's almost that time, huh, Rashid? Oh, okay. I got a few more minutes. Again, make 2022 a good year with spreading a lot of love and a lot of happiness for 2022. Stay masked up. Keep that distance. Get your shots so that the world can come out of the holding pattern. Because right now, this whole world is in a holding pattern. And we have to do our part. And once we do our part, then everything will open up. And when you look up, wow. And then not only that, when we come out of it, you can also say, oh, yeah, right. That was a holding pattern. That was. And you know what? I was a part of that holding pattern because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I didn't go get my shots. I didn't put my mask on. So I was a part of that holding pattern. But once I started to get my shots and wear my mask and things started, the world comes out of the holding pattern. So come out of the holding pattern with your children, your family, your husband, your wife, your significant other, your Christian sisters and brothers. Come out of the holding pattern. And also, sometimes we have to ask the Lord to show us how to let that person that we're in the holding pattern about come out of the holding pattern as well. You know, but we want to come out of it. We want to come out of it. So as we're fastly approaching, because this month in a minute to be over and we're looking into March. Come out of the holding pattern. And you can start this weekend. You can start as soon as tonight. I want to thank my listeners. I want to thank my supporters. And I want to thank my Heavenly Father for allowing me to see that I had been in a holding pattern and what I had to do to come out. And until next Friday, I pray that you will have not only a great weekend, but your whole week will be full of blessings and full of much love. That you will give it and that you will receive it. Again, thank you for all of your support. And as I sign off, I will say, peace, one love. Have a great one.